Oh my goodness, people are already here. I am sorry about that. I got stuck in 2G land. All right, so hopefully I'm not too late. What I want to do today was a really quick video on officer discretion, since I'm going to give you a little surprise. I'm kind of screwing everybody over on the educational video this week because I've got the fundraiser coming up. But today I want to talk about officer discretion. There seems to be this perception in the media and popular and very popular in society that police officers have to do whatever the law says. So if somebody makes a law, we have to enforce it, right? And that the only thing that there's discretion on is like speeding tickets and parking tickets and stuff like that. And I'm not sure the way it is everywhere or in every country or in every state or in every city, but I know how it is where I'm at, and that's just not the case. I like to tell new guys that your discretion ends where your liability begins. And they say, well, where does your liability begin? I say, well, your liability could begin anywhere, and it really has to do with how much liability you're willing to take on, right? If I pull someone over for speeding, which is laughable, mind you, I think I've written like 3 speeding tickets in 11 years, but if I pulled somebody over for speeding and I don't write them a speeding ticket, my liability is 0, right? At the opposite end of the spectrum, if I go to a domestic and somebody's all bloody and I do nothing about it, I don't write a report about it, I don't lock anybody up, anything like that, my liability is enormous, right? Because the probability of somebody getting hurt from that domestic later on and it coming back that I could have done something about it had I locked this person up or at least done a report about it or given them a copy of the Illinois Domestic Violence Act or something like that, that's huge liability. So the perception is that because that's huge liability, and those are the 2 things that people really have contact with the police about the most. They have tickets and them and their old lady or old man or whatever can't get along, right? People have this perception that they have control over tickets, but there's nothing they can do about everything else, which is wrong, right? Especially when it comes to, you get people that are really into drug laws or gun laws, and they're like, well, if the legislature makes X law, then the police have to enforce it, and they're just following orders, and that's the excuse that they use. No one uses that excuse, and if they do, they're silly. Listen, you get locked up, it's because that cop wanted to lock you up. They felt strongly about it. And just like different states are different ways, every person is different, every cop is different, right? I personally know people who were pulled over for technical violations of Illinois UUW law in Illinois. You know, they have like an Indiana permit, and for a long time we didn't accept Indiana permits in Illinois, and they get caught on the Illinois side because they were lost, or they just happened to be driving through, or they didn't know any better, or whatever, and got let go. They take the pistol, throw it in their trunk, and be like, just go, right? It's obviously you're not out looking to do something, right? I've told people before that, and if you've watched the channel enough, you've heard me say that I can't count the amount of drugs that I've thrown down a sewer because it's not worth it, right? Like, the person's been locked up 50 times with a rock of crack, locking them up again with a rock of crack is not going to do anything. And in fact, here, it won't even land them in prison. They're going to get probation, which means they're going to meet with somebody for one time a month for 6 months or a year or whatever. Felony probation. So discretion is a whole range, right? But where a police officer's discretion begins and where it ends depends on how much liability they're willing to take on. Now, new guys very often are going to tell you, and some old guys that just are very liability conscious are going to tell you, well, it's strict liability. Like, we're only going to do exactly what the law says, right? The law says this, it says this is illegal, I'm locking them up for this, right? And most cops I know aren't like that. Discretion is one of the most powerful tools that we have. There's also agencies that have zero tolerance policies, which make about as much sense as zero tolerance policies make in schools, where they say, well, no, if you witness an offense and we prove that we can see that you witnessed it and you don't take enforcement action, you're gonna get fired or held accountable or whatever, right? And what those agencies are doing is they are taking the ability of police officers to make decisions that are positive for the public interest away from them because the agency wants to have that power, and they want to say, well, this is how we're going to do it, everybody's going to do it the same way, and there's no flex room, which I think is really what puts the public and law enforcement at odds with each other, is when you don't allow people that you have given a gun and a car and a whole bunch of training and a whole bunch of law schooling and told them to go dispense justice to the public, the ability to say, no, in this circumstance, this doesn't make sense, right? I mean, there's the old, like, the guy's speeding to go to the hospital. Let's say the guy's going to the hospital with his wife who's pregnant, and she has a driver's license, and the car's hers, but his license has been revoked for DUI for, like, 10 years, right? And you pull him over because he's speeding, and you find out he's revoked, and he has been for 10 years. But the reason he's driving to the hospital is because it's a medical emergency, right? Like, there's actual legal concepts that cover that. If you're doing something illegal to avoid doing something else that's illegal, or to avoid someone getting hurt, then that's a legitimate defense in court. And it's not just a legitimate defense in court, it's a legitimate defense on the street as well. And that's why officer discretion exists. Hopefully that covered most of the questions about it. Let's see what the comments have to say. As usual, we're going to go right to the top. Since I'm screwing you out of the educational cool video that gets all edited up this week, we're going to answer all the questions, see what people say. I feel good don't get paid enough for what they do. Thanks, cops. I feel you. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Hi. How do cops deal with bullying in the States? Bullying? Richard, trying to answer your question, but I don't understand how cops would deal with bullying. I don't think that's a criminal issue here. Like, saying mean things isn't a criminal issue. It generally is a civil issue. Like, you could sue somebody in civil court, but he said something mean to me. It's just going to be like, what? Okay. He said something mean to you. State Trooper, shockingly, says, 3 tickets, really? I wrote 11 since Monday. That's exciting. I do write tickets, but normally it's for accidents. And most of the time when I write a ticket that's not associated with an accident, it's because the person's suspended. Not every time. I mean, sometimes you have things that are egregious. That's my 3 tickets. I caught a guy doing like 105 and a 35, stuff like that, speeding ticket. But I don't even have radar in my car. My car does not have, I don't have a radar gun, I don't have rolling radar, none of that. And I never have. They've never mounted them at any of the cars that I used. Hi from Australia. Hi. Well, that's why y'all are needed on the state highway. Thanks for your service. Thanks for the videos. You're welcome. Great work, thank you. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't help them by giving them the love and throwing that stuff out. It can change how they think. I think spell check might have got you on that one, State Trooper. I'm not sure what you're saying. Discretion is an invaluable tool. I would tend to think, what do cops think of radar detectors? I don't care. Personally, I don't care. A lot of other YouTubers out there I know work traffic division, so you could ask them, or have a lot of experience working traffic division. I don't know, maybe traffic guys are more tech savvy. Maybe that's why they always get onto this live stream stuff before me. You could ask them. I don't have radar, and so your ability to detect it doesn't matter to me. If I notice you because you're speeding, your radar detector wasn't going to help you. I'm going to, like, notice you speeding, because I have to pace people to know how fast they're going. Chupa says, my department gives us 0 discretion. That sucks. That sucks. I hear that more and more from people. I really think that within administrations of police departments, there's a push to take discretion away from patrolmen who are actually on scenes dealing with problems, and push it up the chain and make them call, like, there's an agency near me that, not near me, they're a ways off, but relatively close geographically, that their guys have to, if it's an arrest and no one's getting hurt at the time, their guys have to call a supervisor to get permission to bring anybody to the station, which is, I mean, unthinkable to me, but I guess where they're at, it makes sense. They don't have a lot of crime. Hi, off topic. Do you think a Kimber 1911 is a good duty weapon? Kimber? No, it's not that I think Kimber is a bad gun if you want to go and look at her, you want to take it to the range and shoot it. I think 1911s can be good duty weapons. I think Springfield Armory, as much crap as they get, I think Springfield Armory makes very good duty weapons if you're going to have a 1911. Springfield Operator and the TRP and stuff like that, very good. Kimber is spotty with their quality control. And so, like, I know guys that have had really awesome luck with, like, just the base model Kimber 1911s, never as duty weapons, but like the base model Kimber 1911s, they shoot them a whole bunch and they never clean them. Most people realistically don't ever clean their guns, but most people don't ever clean their guns. And so I've had guys that, like, loved them and they said they're super reliable and they're more accurate than they are, and then I've seen other Kimbers that just jam-o-matics, just absolute jam-o-matics. I don't know if I would ever use a 1911 as a duty weapon, but I think the option should be there for people that are willing to put the time and effort into keeping them in good condition and willing to buy one that's worth it. I don't think you have to go custom, but I wouldn't buy a Kimber and trust it right out of the box, that's for sure. What do you think of an officer living in a bad side of town, high crime area? So like me, I think that they're sexy, they have awesome beards. I don't live in a very nice neighborhood. What department do you work for? Google is your friend, but I'm not allowed to tell people what agency I work for. So, whatevs. Like, work says you can't say it, can't say it. I'm sure plenty of people have figured it out. Wouldn't be difficult. Alright, Chupa says, SOP says shall, not may. Yeah. See, there's some things that departments are going to say you shall do X, you shall do Y. A lot of places are going that way with domestics, especially where I'm at. There's a lot of liability involved with domestics. They say you shall write a report. But it's very hard to say you shall arrest. And my problem is when agencies start making rules that say you shall arrest if you observed X infraction. Because very often there's good reasons for X infraction. You know what I mean? For anything, there can be a reason that discretion would come into play. Now the key with it, and I probably should have said this earlier, but the key with discretion is that you use discretion because it's the right thing to do and not because it's easier. Like, guys get themselves in trouble because they use their discretion. They say, officer discretion. And that's how you get policies that say shall instead of may or is authorized, is because guys use it to be lazy. And that is the exact opposite reason to be using discretion. All right, Dominic says, discretion is an invaluable tool, great concept. I work hand in hand with cops daily, and discretion is a big part of our department here in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Good to hear. Howdy from Dallas. Hello. Can you have the police divider between the suspect and police in a regular backseat for a civilian? Oh, a cage? I guess you could. I used to have one for my dogs in the minivan. Useful for dogs. Taxi cabs have them. In fact, taxi cabs in Chicago have to have bulletproof cages, but every police department says, well, that's too expensive. Imagine having like a rolling bulletproof block that you could hide behind. You park the bulletproof part between you and whatever the threat is, go to the back of the car, and you know absolutely it's bulletproof. I don't know any police departments who use them, but every taxi cab in Chicago is required to have a bulletproof divider. DC? Good. DC police? Really? No discretion? That's kind of silly. What are your thoughts on IA officers? Oh, internal affairs? I don't get in trouble. Like, the few times that I've gotten, like, written up for stuff, and they'll say, hey, somebody came in and complained, I look at the complaint, I'm like, yeah? They're saying what I did. What's their complaint? You know, like, they're saying what I did. I wrote a report, and they read it all, and they watch the video from the dash cam and stuff, and they're like, oh, okay, whatever. All you have to do is treat officer with respect if they have discretion. Alright, Canned Bee Creation says, all you have to do is treat an officer with respect, and if they have discretion, you just might get a warning and not a ticket or worse. Some guys are out looking to write tickets. If they're out looking to write tickets, they're going to write tickets. Your chance of getting, a pass on it is pretty low. That's the reality. That's why people complain about state troopers all the time, right? But state troopers have a job to do. Their job is to handle, most of them, don't get angry. I can already hear the troopers. Their job is to patrol the highways, make sure people don't die, and to handle traffic accidents. So I'll tell you something, you go scraping babies off the expressway a couple times a month, and you'd be in the mood to write a lot more tickets for speeding too. That's the nature of what they're doing. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you get pulled over by somebody just because you caught their eye, you did something silly, and when they get up to the car, you're like, I'm lost, dude. Chances are you're probably going to get a pass on it. I mean, and there's everything in between. You might get pulled over by somebody like me. It's like, hey, it's a one-way street, dude. Going the other way. And they go, oh, I've never been here before. And you're like, all right, turn the car around, go that way. And you might get a state trooper on the same stop. You go the wrong way on a highway, and dude, your car's going to get towed and impounded, and they're going to arrest you and all sorts of stuff. Jacob Howell. I run Ohio law enforcement picks on Insta. What are your opinions on small village and rural police departments? don't have a lot of experience with them. I got pulled over by one once. Got pulled over by Yorkville, Illinois, because I had headlight out. I got a ticket, and it was because I didn't have proof of insurance. And I showed up to court with the proof of insurance, and he was like, "Don't give a shit about the headlight. Go with God." And I was like, "See you later." That's been my only experience with him. In Serbia, if someone underage, this is VRP. In Serbia, if someone underage has even a gram of weed, we need to take him from his parents. Unfortunately, interesting. Coming from a place where weed is a ticket and an optional arrest, like it's an optional ticket and an optional arrest, that seems like an awful lot. Z Taco, okay, thank you. Guess I'll keep Kimber Warrior home and carry a Wilson. I mean, if it's, you want to carry something that's reliable, and that's the problem people have with 1911s and duty use, is that they look at like they have experience with like a Taurus or a Kimber 1911 that isn't really made for that purpose, and then they go, well, obviously 1911s aren't good for this purpose. I mean, that'd be like if your only experience with a Glock was like a Glock 42. You're like, well, how could you use a Glock for duty use? I mean, they're entirely different things. The problem is people don't know enough about 1911s to know the difference. If I had a Kimber Warrior, I probably wouldn't carry it for duty use. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. What do you think? What do Leos think of foreigners using their laws in the U.S. not knowing any differ? Oh, somebody coming here not knowing? Well, then they don't know. That's part of discretion, right? Like if a dude's from Poland and he doesn't know, he can't read the language and he blows a stop sign and I pull him over and he's like legitimately like has a Polish passport and stuff, then how is he supposed to know? And what good is writing him a ticket going to do? Do you have any thoughts on Dieselhead says, do you have any thoughts on the seeming push with PDs to put most officers in crossover type vehicles like those new Ford things and leave cars to interception highway guys? I only have experience with the Explorers and a single Suburban that we have for our ESDA. The Explorers are just as fast as cars used to be. In fact, they're a little quicker. They're a lot more stable, and they're a lot more comfortable, and they have a lot more cargo space. So for the Explorers, I really like it. I don't think it's a crossover vehicle. Ford Escapes are really popular by me with security companies. They're not very popular with police departments. The highway guys, it makes a lot of sense to stick with a sedan because you're going to get better fuel economy. Like the Taurus and the Explorer are supposed to be essentially the same specs, but in reality, in real world conditions, the sedan is a little easier to drive as a single guy in a car, and it seems a little quicker, although there's some argument about that. It seems a little quicker, and it gets a little better fuel economy overall with the like going from 0 to 70, 0 to 70, 0 to 70, or 30 to 60, 30 to 60, 30 to 60, like heavy driving on the highway. They seem to do a little better, and I think that's why Highway Patrol really likes cars still. I mean, there is something to be said for the sleekness of a vehicle when you're driving it at highway speeds all the time, and also they're less prone to push. Like if I take the Explorer on the highway and I get a crosswind, it'll push the car more than a Taurus. And having driven both on the highway at high speed, I can tell you from personal experience, like an Explorer is going to get more push. If you've ever driven like a minivan on the highway or a box truck on the highway, the bigger the side profile of the vehicle, the more push you're going to get from wind. And in some areas, that's really important. In areas with a lot of bridges, that's really, really important. Transgendered Muhammad. Okay, here it comes. Do you arrest more black people or white people considering you're from Chicago? I really have never looked at the stats. And I arrest a lot of assholes. Like, there's a lot of people that do dumb stuff because they're ignorant and their parents were idiots. And I've arrested a lot of assholes. But what race I arrested more of, I'd have to go look back at the stats to even know. I mean, I wouldn't even know. I've arrested every race and ethnicity of person. And I haven't really seen a correlation between anybody's skin color and how much of an asshole they are and how much trouble they get into with the law. Statisticians could argue with me on that, but Alright. Chupa. DVR the worst. Mandatory arrest with body cam, zero discretion. You see, and that's where I'm worried about with the body cams, is that's going to be used as a way to take discretion against police officers. But I don't think that's the best for public relations to be like, no, you have to arrest them. and we're going to check your body cam and make sure you do. At that point, you can just hire a robot. Like, why do you even need a person then? You ever gotten into trouble for doing what you knew was right? No. Were you ever involved in a high-speed chase, or are you planning to make a video about it? I have been involved in more pursuits than I could even think of. And the more I do them, the less I like them. And I have done videos about operating emergency vehicles. There's one in particular, I think it's called How to Drive a Police Car. It's very old, it's very dated, my face isn't in it, I'm sitting in my car, like my personal car, doing it, and I use a lot of video footage from dashboard cameras to explain kind of the proper techniques with how lights and sirens and stuff work. You could watch it, I guess, if you really want. It's not that exciting. It's a truly educational video. Can human ride in the back of cage? I guess. Stray says hi. Will Parody TV. What's your go-to meal on night shift? Ice cream. Soft serve ice cream. Normally swirl. Hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too, Destiny. My high school has a law enforcement class that goes over the process and principles of LE. I wanted to ask if I should take it, or will it go over the same subjects the Explore program will teach me? They're probably going to go over the same topics in Explore program, or the Academy, or any class in college will teach you. And I'll tell you this, most high school and college level criminal justice classes get most things about criminal justice wrong. Not wrong in the hypothetical sense, but wrong in the way it actually works, right? Like, police have to have probable cause to pull you over. No, one, that's wrong. Police don't have to have probable cause to stop you. They have to have a reasonable suspicion, which is a very, very low standard. And two, because they have to have it doesn't mean they have to tell you what it is right then and there on the side of the road. And I get into it with people that are high school teachers that teach their kids this stuff. I'm like, you're going to get a kid hurt because what you're doing is you're telling them to do stuff that is going to lead the police to believe that they are the guilty party, and that is going to make them get into trouble or end up getting hurt because they're going to fight with the police because they're like, I know my rights, and they're going to fight with the police, and it's going to turn out that it was over nothing. And that's how people get charged with just resisting, which is silly. No one should ever have to be charged with just resisting, right? But high school classes teach people stuff. If you're working at a high school and you're teaching a class about criminal justice and you have no actual experience with the criminal justice system, you need to stop, because you're going to get people hurt. Tushar Nag says moist, smiley face, awesome. HMS Hood. The battleship has a YouTube channel? Out of curiosity, do you know about policecarwebsite.com and is your department on it? I have no experience with that. VRP says we're really strict on drugs in Serbia. Yeah, sounds like it. A gram of weed will get you jammed up. Off subject, but do you have any recommendations for a resume? I'm working on applying with a few police and sheriff's department, or any advice in general. Where I'm at, we don't do resumes. You have to go in and do an actual application, so I've never had to make one. At least not for police work. So I don't really have any advice on it. How do you handle someone underage and drunk who is being driven by someone sober, and if they comply and are respectful? Being drunk isn't illegal, right? People have this perception that being drunk or being high is illegal. It's the possession of the alcohol or the possession of the drugs that is illegal by the law. And so being intoxicated, unless you're doing something else that makes that dangerous, as a general rule, is not illegal. A person can be drunk and sitting on a chair, and that's not necessarily illegal. Some places have like public intox laws, but realistically, public intox is being used, should be used, I would say, when that person's creating a problem. So someone in a car being driven by someone who's sober, and that person in the car is drunk and they're underage, that's not really illegal. I mean, them being possession of the alcohol is, at least where I'm at, I can't charge them with that. And I'd be happy that the sober person is taking care of the drunk person. I probably have a better chance of letting the sober person off for whatever I pulled them over for in the first place if they were taking the drunk person home. We even send SWAT to do drug busts in Serbia. We do the same thing if there's going to be a propensity for violence. Freefield, do firefighters go to a fallen police officer's funeral? Yeah, this would actually be a great time if I was going to edit this video to like roll in video of it. But every funeral I've ever been at, the fire department has done. They put 2 ladders up from fire trucks and put the flag down on it, and you'll see a bunch of firefighters at cop funerals. And the opposite is also true. The police department gives a lot of leeway and does a lot to help when you have a firefighter's funeral. What do you think on cops killing people in the past year? I think that it is publicized more. And if you look at the overall statistics, the number of people that are killed by police officers in comparison with the number of people that are killed by the general public out there, and you realize that police officers are being sent to situations that are highly volatile, and your average person is just walking around their daily life with no exigent reason to go somewhere where somebody's going to get killed, police officers shooting people, the vast overwhelming majority of times, are justified, and the problem is getting blown substantially out of proportion. And when police officers are caught shooting someone for no reason, I think they should be punished accordingly. And by accordingly, I mean held to a significantly higher standard than the rest of the public, which I think is what happens the vast majority of the time. We can't just condemn someone because of their skin color and the skin color of the person that ended up getting hurt, right? Like a lot of these situations where a police officer ends up having to use lethal force against someone, it would have been justifiable for anyone to do that. But anyone wouldn't have been in that situation, because we don't ask your average person to go to a situation to stop somebody who just strong-arm robbed a convenience store. And so your average person wouldn't have never had to do that because it's not their job to go out and confront people like that. What are your thoughts on State Police Aspiring Trooper District 15 Tollway all the way? A good friend of mine from back when I was in Scouts, Brian. I can't imagine he actually watches these videos, especially this far in. But in case he is watching, hi Brian. He's a state trooper. He's actually an instructor at the State Police Academy here. Opinions on correction officers? I work with a bunch of guys who used to be correctional officers, and I try to stay out of their prisons as much as possible, and they try to stay out of my police station as much as possible. And so we have a mutual respect over that. Everybody's got enough work to do around here. You've ever arrested a Chinese person? I didn't ask him if he was Chinese, but I have arrested Asian people, yes. Does your agency have a strict tattoo policies? No. In fact, I know guys that have tattoos on their hands work for my PD. It's probably for the best we don't have a strict tattoo policy, because there'd be a lot of guys like put makeup on their fingers and stuff. I think our tattoo policy is something like you can't have any visible tattoos that would be like racist or offensive to people. But then I'm like, why are you a cop if you have visible racist tattoos? You shouldn't have to write that. You know what I mean? Would you prefer a Ford police utility and cars kept a V8? I would prefer the supercharged one, I'll tell you that much. Can tell us about graduation from the police academy and also your first day on the job. My first day on the job, I did almost nothing. I sat in a basement and I filed paperwork. Every so many years, the police departments have to go through all of their paper files. When we used to have paper police reports, you had to read through them and put them into piles, things that there's a 3-year save time, a 5-year save time, a 7-year save time, and I want to say a forever save time, or a 10-year and then a forever. And I had to stack different reports and different things. It was before I went to the academy, but that was my first day on the job. It was super exciting. I did learn a lot about writing police reports, though, because I read a lot of police reports. Thoughts on using polygraphs as scientific evidence for applicants? Polygraphs aren't scientific evidence. Google polygraph junk science. That's it. It's not scientific at all. There's nothing scientific about it. It's a stress test. Don't be stressed, you pass the test. What is your worst run-in with teen drivers? I have no idea. There's been a lot. I have no idea. Explain a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor is a crime that is punishable by less than 1 year in prison. And it is not a felony, but it is more than a petty offense. So a petty offense would be a fine-only thing, and a misdemeanor would be something that you could go to prison between like 1 day and 364 days, and a felony is something that's punishable by more than 364 days in prison or death. That's the Cliff's Notes version. Best duty boots that are Goodyear weld and will last me 5 years. I've never had a pair of boots last me 5 years, so I have no idea. What is the only thing that really surprised you in academy that I can expect? Not something that you can expect, but the academy I went to was real heavy on like their firearms program. It was very heavy on like competition shooting, which seemed really weird. Like really weird. Is an extensive IT background beneficial to getting into law enforcement? Depending on where you're going, A lot of federal agencies will look at that as a very big benefit. Although they probably wouldn't say it right up front. I'm sure if you went to the NSA, you'd be very interested in your technical skills. Just want to shout out and say, Spencer Nichols says, just want to shout out and say, keep up the good work. I'm applying to be a security right now. You've inspired me. I'm glad. Jack Bryan retracted his message. James Foster, do you like Officer 401? Seems cool to me. Kind of upset that he's better looking than me. What do you think about parents teaching their kids not to trust the police and not to listen to them? That's the type of thing only ignorant people do. There's nothing you do about ignorant people. If they weren't teaching their kids that, they teach them something else ignorant. I don't think about it because it's silly. What is the right time to use a taser? There's a whole spectrum of laws that are involved in that. I can tell you for sure, and quite easily, that I have used tasers to save people's lives. Is there a curriculum for the criminal justice system in the school in the USA? Yeah, there is. I guess you could take part of it, but it's not all that great. I've never taken a criminal justice class that taught me something that I actually used on the street. Did you go to college? If yes, what did you major in? Yes, I did, and it was criminal justice and human resources management. So I can be the HR guy if law enforcement doesn't work out. Since I want to become a police officer in the future, but I'm relatively smaller than other guys, is it a good idea to still become a cop? I'm 5'2". Start lifting weights. Drink protein. You'll love it. Muscle Milk Pro. It's good stuff. What is your favorite police vehicle to drive? My personal favorite is a Crown Vic. I'd have to agree with you. Thoughts on company police or campus police, my future job? It depends on how it's done. It's just like a security company. It depends on how it's done. Some campus police are actually like state law enforcement. State schools, very often they're state law enforcement with in Illinois, a lot of the same powers as the state police. Company police can be done very well, it can be done very badly. It all depends on the company that's doing it. A lot of railroads are very good company police. And some contract companies that work out of other states, very bad company police. It all depends on how it's administered. Just like police departments, there are very bad police departments out there. There are some that are there's a lot of police departments that are like really rinky-dink and they don't do stuff the right way. I mean, it's like that with anything. I mean, what's your thoughts on fast food? You know? Some fast food is good, some fast food is not so good. Sub to me and I will sub to you. No. Have you heard of FLETIC, the Federal Police Academy, basically? Any tips? If you go to a federal agency, if they use the FBI pistol qualification, good luck. That thing's a bear. That's actually a really hard qual. That's one of the only pistol quals that I actually failed the first time I tried it. Normally I just breeze right through. FFT. Thank you, Philip. What do you think of the FBI or any other agency taking over investigations? I wish they'd do it more. If the FBI wants to come take my case, they are welcome to it. I will pack everything up and I'll go get them coffee. Do you know anything about Federal Reserve Police or Amtrak Police? Yeah, they're like public-private partnerships. I don't run into them very much. That's about all I know about them, is that they're kind of private companies that are a government partnership. And so they have police agencies that kind of have jurisdiction that's just funky. Since I don't go to the Federal Reserve and I don't ride Amtrak, it's not really been an issue. And I've never had an investigation involve them. Jack says, hey FFT, I'm planning on becoming a deputy after I finish high school and will probably get my degree while in the academy. I have friends who are cops, as my friends did. What do you think of my plan? You're going to finish high school, get a degree while in the police academy. I don't know how that would work. There's some states that I know let you send yourself to the academy. Where I'm at, you have to go get a degree, you have to get a job, and then the police department will send you to an academy. If that works where you're at, have that. You think the police did their job in Charlottesville? What job were they to do? I haven't followed it that closely. The only thing I wonder with Charlottesville is why there was a helicopter en route. Was it just to monitor the crowd? I don't see what that would have done, and unfortunately two cops lost their lives flying a helicopter to a riot. That's the only thing I know about the police response in Charlottesville, unfortunately. Sox or Cubs? I don't really follow baseball, but since I'm on the south side, Sox. Finally caught the live. Hell yeah. Glad you like it. I live in Walton, so a couple of people that I know have been on live PD. Well, that's exciting. What is the difference between highway patrol and state troopers? Nothing really. Highway patrols are generally more restricted to highways. I forget what states use, like, specifically just highway patrol. But if it says highway patrol, that means that a lot of times their jurisdiction is actually limited to the highway, where a state trooper could be anything from just doing highway patrol to, like, Alaska state troopers, where they're the only law enforcement that's like legitimately around outside of major cities. So it could be anything in between. In fact, I even heard somebody say that there isn't even federal law enforcement, that in Alaska, the Alaska state troopers take care of all of it. I'm sure that would give some of the federal building cops aneurysms if they heard that, but that's what I've heard. I echo Dieselhead's question, Sox or Cubs. I already said it. Recently in my area, a 15-year-old was charged with child pornography or exchanging photos with their girlfriend, and someone found out and told everyone. Should it be a police matter or parents? Depends on the laws of the state. I mean, personally, I think that very well could be a police matter, right? I think that the problem that we have right now is that our ethics and our social mores and our laws have not kept up with technology, because technology is advancing at such an astounding rate. I mean, when I started as a cop, the ability to stream 720p video from my phone in my backyard without a Wi-Fi connection just wouldn't have existed. And now we can do this, people Facebook Live, and put whatever out there. I don't think our laws haven't caught up with all of the circumstances involved with how things that are technically criminal acts could happen. What do you think about Border Patrol? I only run into him at the airport. Last time I ran into a Border Patrol guy, he was like, I was coming back from Jamaica, and he was like, do you have anything to declare? And I was like, I like donuts. And he goes, you're good to go. True story. I do armed security, and you keep me motivated to take more classes. Keep it up. I'm glad I help. What are your opinions about Citizens Police Academy? Never been to one. My agency doesn't have it. I think it's good for the public to learn more about law enforcement. Part of the reason I started the channel. Once a police department has passed on you for another candidate in the last recruiting season, would it be smart to apply again in the same department or move on to a different one? Apply everywhere. That's my advice. Apply everywhere. What do you do if a suspect is acting calm and respectful but refuses to show identification and tries to walk away? Well, if they're actually the suspect of a crime and they try to walk away, that is called obstructing. They're obstructing the investigation by attempting to leave while they're being detained. That is a crime in itself, and then you can arrest them. Doing that automatically triggers that you are now having a custodial interrogation if you arrest them. So you start moving toward where Miranda pops in, and so that can cause legal irregularities if you have to do that. But if you're already detaining someone, chances are you probably already at the level of probable cause to start with. You know what I mean? It would depend on the totality of circumstances, obviously, but like if someone refuses to show identification and then they walk away and they're the suspect of a crime, they are now obstructing. Security companies are all dishonest. Avoid working for them if you can. Many security companies are dishonest. Many are. Unfortunately, the security industry is like a run to the bottom to see how cheap they can make it in a lot of places. And there are some good companies, and you have to go looking for them. Help on physical fitness exam. I have 1.5 mile runs in 10 minutes. You're doing better than me. Advice on how dealing with on how to deal with spiking incidents. I don't know what a spiking incident is. Is being law enforcement certified before going to apply to a police department to guarantee you a job? No, it doesn't. Not where I'm at least. You still have to be a good candidate. You say that 19 level is a good firearm for law enforcement, depending on what you do, where you're at, what your qualifications are with using it. You have to, that's like a 1911 is awesome if you know how to use it and you're willing to put the time in to continue learning how to use it and to maintaining it. And to be honest with you, I don't have that time or energy right now, and that's why I use a Glock. But I don't think that people should be restricted from using them because I don't choose to use it. What's it like being pepper sprayed, going through the Reserve Police Academy in Massachusetts, and I have to be sprayed? It sucks. It sucks for like 3 days. You're going to get sprayed, it's going to hurt, it's going to feel like your face is on fire, and then you're going to walk away, and then you're going to go shower, and it's going to come back. And then it's going to burn a whole lot, and you're going to want nothing but to like sit with water on your face in front of a fan. And then you're finally going to feel better. Then you're going to go back home or back to your dorm or whatever, wherever you're staying at the police academy, and you're going to shower. And it's going to come back. And you're going to be like, ah! And the next day, you're going to go to shower again, and it's going to come back. It's terrible. I hate pepper spray. You better not have any allergies or you could die. Well, you could die from anything. If I were to go to college and choose criminal justice as my major, any suggestions for a good minor? Anything that you could use outside of police work. In fact, I would double major. Thoughts on large police departments? Cough. Columbus, Ohio, incorporating freeway patrol. I think it's a good idea. Depending on the amount of activity that the state police can actually have on it, some large cities have their own highway patrol because the needs of that city, the amount of traffic that's going on in that city is something that the state just can't handle. A lot of big cities have a lot of accidents, a lot of traffic, a lot of problems that having a highway patrol from the city makes a lot of sense. Here in Texas, we can self-sponsor the academy, or some departments hire you on and pay you through their own academy. Do you think it's best to self-sponsor or hold out hope of getting hired on? I don't know. Where I'm at, you have to get hired on. What do you think about North Korea? What do I know about North Korea? Man's got to know his limitations. What do I know about North Korea? I know that as a result of North Korea, we have an awesome TV show called MASH that I really like. The chopper is there to give air intelligence to the ground cops. Duh. I don't know what, but I didn't see any police out there actively engaging with the crowd. All I saw was a bunch of the crowds fighting with each other, and so they sent a helicopter, and 2 guys died. And my only thought was, why were they even dispatching a helicopter? Intelligence on a big crowd of people with sticks. Hey, there's a big crowd of people with sticks. I can see them from here. That's my only question. What intelligence were they going to get? Just turned 21 and will have the necessary college credits to apply for a big department by the end of this year. Cool. Ohio strictly uses highway patrol, although they leave the highway for many things. I think that's true everywhere. This is Skybird. I see a flight on intersection A with B. Streezer. Copy. Okay. Ever work with the U.S. Marshals? Yeah, they call sometimes and they'll be like, can you pull this car over? And if this guy's in it, can you arrest us? He's got a federal warrant. I'll be like, yeah, cool. And we pull the car over and we lock the guy up and we hand him over to him. They're very good at getting other people to do work, and they're very good investigators. No matter what anybody tells you about the feds, the feds like to talk about how good and cool, and what the feds like to talk about all the cool stuff they do. The same way detectives at local departments like to talk about how good of an investigator they are. When in reality, it's exact opposite. Your local cops are doing, especially in a big city, are going to do a lot more cool stuff in the course of their career, right? As actual at work on the job. They're going to do a lot of cool stuff. But the feds are awesome investigators. Dude, there are only 2 groups of people that you're guaranteed can find you, and that is God and the U.S. Marshals. Those guys can track people down. But they're not, they dress like they're going into Fallujah because they can. It's cool. But they, more often than not, when the actual takedown happens, they do the smart thing because they're smart and they're very good at their job and they're very good investigators. And if they can have the local police pull them over on a traffic stop, they do, and that's been the limits of my interaction with them because I'm not wanted. Have you ever dealt with the immigration issues? If so, how did it go? I work for a sanctuary city, and no, I won't talk about it. So I don't deal with immigration issues at all. Hey man, I just wanted to say I always watch your videos, and you're one of the most entertaining, informative channels. I know that. Just saying I love your channel, and I'll be back later. Bye. Later. Thanks, Brandon. Hi. North Korea is going to turn into another Vietnam, assuming our smart leaders don't destroy the planet with nukes first. Okay. I think it's California that has highway patrol as state police. A lot of them do. If you don't pass a lie detector test, does that take you out completely, or should it still apply again and retake everything? It takes you out from that round of testing. I know guys who have tested with a place and been DQ'd for almost everything and then come back and still gotten a job with that agency. What do you think about Engarda Sochnia? I have no idea what that is. Spiking as drugging a person without their knowledge. I think that would be an issue for investigators. I've never seen that as a patrolman. Of course, I don't work in a college town. Where I'm at, you don't have to spike people's drinks to get them into bed. Right? You just buy them a drink. What advice do you think would you give to someone going to the police academy? I'm about to be going into law enforcement. Have fun. I just got OC with Saber Red for my academy class. Feels like getting your face pissed on by Satan. That's probably the most articulate way I've ever heard it. Saying hello from U.S. Army Base, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Nice to hear from you. It's curious mercenary work in a downgraded form. Money equals work. Favorite uniform type, blower, gulls, etc. I like blower. I really like blower's pants. I like 511 pants. I'm not allowed to use them for work. There's a lot of pants that we can use, and of them, I really like blower. I like the wool blowers, which is weird since it's hot here in the summertime, but wool blowers. Have you ever pulled over an armored truck? I have pulled over an armored truck. And never for an infraction, but it's normally because there's something going on. They need to not go where they're going. Thoughts on Glock 22 as a service weapon? I used to use it. I think If your ammunition choices are limited, it can make a very fine service weapon. Don't shower standing right off, or your privates will burn from the OC spray. It will. If you get a lot of it on there, you want to hose yourself off, and you like use baby shampoo and hose yourself off. Stand in front of a fan, hose yourself off some more before you ever go like stand and take a shower. Do you get denied by any departments where you were applying? Yeah, I have. I think everybody that's applied for departments has. What should I do if I'm preparing to go into the state police? Should I focus more on learning about driving, law, etc.? Focus on being a good candidate. Do you like Donald Trump? I've never met the guy. Does having a motorcycle license have any perks? In police work, not really. At least where I'm at, you have to go to a separate school in order to work motors. MASH is awesome. It is. Saying hello from U.S. Army Base. We already said hi. Can you use your own gun, or do you have to use the issued gun to be a cop? Where I'm at, I can use a personal weapon some places, and I know like a lot of it, like the big city by me, Chicago, they have to buy everything. They have to buy body armor, right? They have to buy their own guns. They have to provide almost all of their own equipment. And other places, there's a town just south of me that issues everybody everything, which could be really awesome or really bad depending on how good the stuff is that you're being issued. Same thing with guns. There's some places that they issue a gun and ammo and everything you need, and some places you gotta buy all your own stuff. What do you think if you walk up on people in a car getting it on? It brings a smile to my face, I'm not gonna lie. Thank you for your service. You don't have to thank me, man. Elite Vlogs, you don't have to thank me. I love what I do. Thoughts on National Guard or Reserves? Does it boost your application or help you get hired depending on if you meet all their qualifications? Couldn't hurt. Jacob Howell, opinions on bounty hunters and fugitive recovery. My opinion is that they are shady, very shady, but they have a job they're doing. Bounty hunting is illegal in Illinois, so I've never run into them. So I don't know. What do you think is the best service weapon? Depends on what you're going to do with it and which one you shoot best. I always thought street cops kick more ass than feds. Feds are very good investigators, and street cops are not as good at investigating. And street cops fight with people for a living. You go to a high crime area, you go to Inglewood, right? Go to Inglewood, the Inglewood neighborhood in Chicago. Go pick a fight with one of those cops. You could find this guy that's worked there for 10 years. It doesn't matter. Oh, you took karate and jiu-jitsu. That's great. Go fight with someone who fights people for a living. You're going to learn some stuff. You will learn some stuff. I mean, those guys are serious, right? The feds don't fight with people a lot because people don't fight with the feds. By the time the marshals are knocking on your door, a lot of people are way past the point of fighting. Bounty hunters, would you ever consider joining the U.S. Marshals? No. I'm too old for that. I'm too old to switch careers. Civilian or MP, which is better? Civilian law enforcement very often will pay more. I'll tell you that much. If you're going to go into the military, my suggestion from people that I know who have been in the military and were MPs in the military is if you're going to join the military today, you want to go officer. I never really got to know why, but that was their advice, so I'd say look into that. LOL, and Garda Síochána is the Irish police force. They don't normally carry firearms. Never met them, don't know anything about them. What do you think about 511? I think they make cool jackets and cool pants. I have to limit how much of it I wear at once, though. Try not to wear the pants with the jacket. What's up, bro? What's going on? What do you think about using a 5.7 for police work? Terrible idea. Terrible idea. Unless you are in a very, very, very constrained situation where you have 100% certainty that the person or people you're going to be going up against are wearing soft body armor, 5.7 pistol is a terrible idea for police work. I know it's going to offend some people, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You ever had any difficulty with managing family life in your career? Yeah. I don't know anybody that hasn't. You work rotating shifts. You have a hard time managing family life in your career. Like I took the kids to breakfast this morning, then took my daughter to gymnastics, and then now I'm coming home and I'm doing this, and then I go to work. And it's hard to fit it all in. Tips for interviews: don't say, the reason I want to do this is I want to serve my community. Say like, I want to have a good career, good benefits. Because the whole idea is they want you to be a good candidate for a job. Do you ever find it that your height affects certain situations in your job? By the way, I'm from the UK and I love your videos. I do. Being 5'2" kind of sucks. Right? Like one, I have to leave my backup behind very often because they're too tall to get into short basements or to get down stairwells that are really narrow and short that were like made in the 30s. And like I always have to be the one that goes into attics because no one else can fit. And all those times that we get buildings with like an open window but we can't get the door open without kicking it in, I'm always the one that has to take all my stuff out, climb through the window, reach back through to get my pistol, and then run to the back door to open it up to let everyone else in. And then half the time, they've got like a double-sided lock on that back door, and I can't get the thing open. Then I got to run through the front of the house. So it's like you're searching a house alone. Being 5'2" sucks. Also, most of the other problems I take care of with my reaching stick. I use the knock, spend a little bit of time with the push button, and I can just open it and like knock things off shelves. So, yeah, it affects situations. It means I have to do a lot more work than I should. Freakish tall people making me go through windows and up in attics and stuff. Thoughts on badge bunnies? I mean, if you're single, here in New York, state troopers are the most badasses, I think. I've never met them. I've never been in New York. How do you respond when someone says thank you for your service? I tell them the same thing every time. You don't have to thank me. I do what I love. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. The last company that I left was called Johnstone Supply, and they're a heating, ventilation, air conditioning company. And I was told when I left, if I ever needed a job, come right back. And if I didn't love what I did, I would. Is going to a small department for experience before going to a larger department a good idea? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You're gonna learn a lot going to a big PD anyway. I don't think going to a small department before you go to a big department is necessarily going to help you, unless you get certified and then you can lateral into that large department. Is SWAT as sexy as it is in movies? No. It's terrible. SWAT is sweating, waiting, and talking. It's a lot of it. Training like crazy. It is not gun battles and running and fighting and riding on the outside of armored cars. I mean, you're going to do that stuff if you work on a SWAT team. If they have an armored car, some places don't, which I find really weird that some SWAT teams don't have armored cars. But like, it's sweating, it's waiting, and talking a lot. It's negotiating with people inside a house, and just lots of sweating and waiting. I'm becoming a police officer for the Metropolitan Police in London. Cool. It always seemed like a cool job. If I had to go overseas and be a cop somewhere, it'd be very interesting. I don't know how well I'd work along without having a gun, but if you could work in an area where you didn't have to have a gun, and they always, like, I don't know. It's a very prestigious department to work for. It would be cool. It'd be cool to try. Good luck. How did I get here? I don't know. Striker or hammer fired? I like striker fired. For police work, for what I do, I like striker fired. What killer bullet do you use the most? 40? I don't think the word SWAT and sexy ever goes in the same sentence. It does, but man, sweaty fits way better. Anybody that tells you they haven't been a big, sweaty, nasty mess at the end of 12 hours sitting outside a house waiting for some idiot to come out, even in the winter you leave sweaty. It's nasty. What's your favorite thing about being a cop? Coffee. Actually, my favorite thing about being a cop is that you can walk in pretty much anywhere and just strike up conversations with people, and then once they realize that you're not there investigating something, they want to like be your best friend, and they let you do anything. Like, I just walk on construction sites. They were building a new school in my town, right? So I go to the construction site, and I just walk in. And people go, "Hey, is there something wrong?" "No, man. Is that the new Case backhoe? I haven't seen those yet." "Oh yeah, come take a look." It's awesome. About to graduate from self-sponsored academy. Is a good sheriff's department a good choice for new officer training experience-wise? Depends where. There's good and bad agencies everywhere. What do you think about the show Southland? I love Southland. I love like the first couple seasons when it was like the FTO with the new kid. Oh, you want to talk about like some reality? You want to know what field training's like? Like the first couple episodes of that show is like what field training feels like all the time. How do you spot DUIs on the road if they aren't committing a traffic infraction? And how do you treat refusals for roads, sobriety tests, and PBTs? I don't have a PBT. A guy I work with does, so I can always call for that if I want it. I don't care if they refuse. And how do I spot DUIs on the road if they aren't committing a driving infraction? I don't. I did tell you how many tickets I've written, right? I'm normally driving, literally, call to call, right? On average, because I have to track it for when I'm training people, we have to write down how many calls we go on in a day. And in an 8-hour shift, especially in afternoons or midnights, it is not unusual to have over 25 calls in a day. You work out the time on scene and then writing paper from it and driving back and forth, and you're literally going call to call. I don't have time to go looking for stuff that isn't like readily apparent. So you're driving like an idiot, and you're drunk, I might catch you. If not, probably never going to know. Do you need a degree to be a police officer? In some places, yes. In many places, no. In many places, it's just not. It's just not. And one, it's not necessary. Two, it doesn't make you a better cop. And three, it's not required. Some places it is. Many places not. Do you EDC a Glock at work? Yes, that's my duty weapon. I carry a Glock 35 with a TLR2 on it, and I carry it in a Safariland SLS holster. Glock 19 greater than 5.7, depending on what you're doing. I'm not a big fan of Glock 19 either. It's like the milquetoast middle of the road. You train for body shots or head shots. At the academy, we're trained to aim center mass, which is yonder area here, because that's where you have the highest probability of making a hit, and statistically the first person to make a hit is likely to win the fight. And then they train from there to make body shots, and if body shots didn't work after a couple of shots, to start going for the noggin. Head is a very hard target to hit, and most of the times you shoot somebody in the head, it doesn't really work. It might knock them unconscious, but it's not going to knock them out of the fight permanently. It's not going to kill them. I know it's just going to ruffle some feathers where people are, oh, somebody died, you're going to kill them. I mean, you shoot them anywhere, there's a likelihood they're going to die, but I've seen a lot of people shot in the head that didn't die. Now, in SWAT, we train a lot more for headshots because what we're worried about is hostage situations. And SWAT's going into a very different circumstance. They're not. SWAT isn't normally. It's a matter of defending themselves. It's they're assaulting into a building, and someone has taken a hostage. They need to make a headshot. So we practice a lot of headshots for SWAT. But if we didn't need to take a headshot, we still always trained high upper chest, right here. Tips for unarmed security. My company just merged with another, and they disarmed everyone who was in former Leo. I'm in Trenton, New Jersey, in a bad area overnight. That sucks, but a lot of places around here will only hire people that are police officers or former police officers to do armed security too. It's a liability thing for the company. They want to be able to pass it off and say, well, this agency trained this person to do X, Y, Z. Your thoughts about RCMP from Canada? I've never been to Canada. I would like to someday. I keep talking about with the wife going to Niagara Falls. Maybe I'll meet one then. I've only ever talked to them on the internet. Do you know if ADHD is disqualifying for being a police officer? If it is, there's a lot of guys I work with that should be disqualified. ADHD is not as big a problem for adults with the workforce as it is for children. Very often people with ADHD are very good employees. What do you think about fat cops? As a fat cop, I say I like donuts. Just had an interview for police department. They asked me, what should you do if an officer tells you you're working too hard and that you're showing other officers up? How would you answer this question? I'd say, is it a me problem or a you problem? But that's coming from a guy that's done it for 11 years. As a new guy, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of new guys come with that, and I'll tell you something. If you run into a cop when you're new who says you're doing too much, you're embarrassing all of us, right? I wouldn't take anything that person says seriously, because obviously they're just being lazy. Now, if you have older guys that are telling you, hey, listen, you're doing stuff at the wrong time. We are very busy, and you are pulling people over for a brake light out, and then searching their car, and finding weed, and arresting them, and impounding their car, while we're handling all these domestics, these armed robberies, and these carjackings, and maybe you should listen to them. But not if it comes from a place of laziness. I would think I'd just walk away. So if I was in an interview and they asked, if someone asked me that, I'd be like, I don't deal with lazy people, so I would just walk away. It's not worth fighting with somebody over they're too lazy to do their job, and so I make them look bad. Just TV JB Vivo LO. I don't know what that means. What do you think about RCMP? Trump charged the state troopers in New York to go after the MS-13. Didn't hear about it. How accurate is the movie End of Watch? End of Watch is like taking a ghetto cop's career and compressing it down to 3 days. That's what I think about it. I saw it. My wife doesn't like it. She's like, has that ever happened? She's like, has that ever happened to you? Well, I mean, not all in 3 days. Do you think you would have become an officer if you were only armed with a baton and pepper spray? I'm going to be guard policeman. If I was in another country, maybe. Not in the U.S. I don't think that would be safe for anyone. I find it really disturbing that some police departments have auxiliary police that aren't armed. I don't think it's a good idea, because that police uniform makes them a target of people who are armed with guns. I think that if you're a police officer, you should have to wear body armor and carry a sidearm. Anytime you're marked as police, you should have to wear body armor, carry a sidearm. I'm a volunteer firefighter in Connecticut. I want to buy a black Crown Vic with push bar and put blue LEDs in it 2 in the rear visor light, 2 in the rear deck, and most police here use red-blue lights. If I were to do that, which I wouldn't, because I think you're going to draw attention to yourself you don't want, right? Not that it's necessarily illegal or that you're going to do anything illegal with it, but you're going to draw attention to yourself you don't want. I wouldn't do that. If you're going to do that, I would clearly mark that car that it's like I'm a volunteer firefighter. Like here we have firefighter plates. I'd put firefighter plates on it, and then a bunch of fire department stuff on it. And I wouldn't tint the windows. And I would make sure like the reflective vest from the fire department was like sitting in the back seat, like on a hanger, on the like attached to the little clip in the back seat, which you might have to put in there if you buy a used Crown Vic. Thought you were going to say donuts are your favorite. They kind of are. Do you think it would make me a pullover magnet? Oh yeah. I think you're. No matter what you do, you drive a black Crown Vic with LEDs in it, your plate's going to get run constantly. But I think you can mitigate that by making it very clear from the outside of the vehicle that you're not the police. How does race factor into how you interact with people, and how do you feel about the phrase Black Lives Matter? Well, of course Black Lives Matter. Like, the notion that they don't is what they're fighting against. And since, like, I live and work in a community that is over 50% black, why would I do that if I was racist? Like, of course they do. It's most of the people here. And it doesn't make any difference to how I interact with people. I interact with people the way they interact with me, and the way they deserve to be interacted with, given the totality of the circumstances we're working with. So if I go into a domestic, it doesn't matter what the color of the person's skin is, it depends on what's going on that scene. Whereas DUIs are always driving like idiots. It's not hard to catch them. What's the difference between state troopers and sheriffs? One works for the state, and one works for the county, and one runs all the jails and the lockups and the courts, the security for all the courts, and the other one chases down speeders on the highway. As somebody who is a relative was a NAM vet and a SWAT team commander who retired and then proceeded to work campus police, do you think security companies with retired cops is more reliable? Not necessarily. There's hacks in every profession to say a guy who's a cop so he's going to be a good security guard is not really true. There's a lot of cops that are not very good security guards, a lot of very good security guards that are not very good cops. So these jobs are related in uniforms and equipment, but not in their core function. Armed police in the UK use Glock 19s. I thought they used Glock 17s, but having not been there, I don't know. What level holster to use? I use a level 2, Safariland SLS. Thoughts on Walther PPK as a carry? For off-duty, sure. Use whatever you like. I think there are options that are lighter, that are going to give you better performance. But if you like the PPK, you like the DASA, it could be a good option. I think if you're going to look at a Walther PPK, you should look at a SIG P320, SIG P232, or SIG P2, not 230, 232. I think it was their 380 version of the PPK, and I found that to be a little more reliable. And I like the looks of it better. I know it's sacrilege, but I like the looks of it better. Is it shoot to harm or shoot to kill? Not shooting to harm or kill. Stop. If a cop's shooting someone, it should be to stop life-threatening behavior. That's it. Opinions on red dot sights for duty EDC on a handgun. I'm going to have to see where holster technology comes for duty. I haven't seen a holster yet, haven't played with a holster yet, that reliably protects that red dot and allows the gun to get out fast enough and does all the things a duty holster needs to do. So I wouldn't use it yet. I know there's guys out there that are using the ALS that just has like an open area for the red dot. I don't think that's a good idea. Because you could get like snow and water and anything, like mud and dirt and shit on that red dot, and then you can't see anything. If iron sights get dirty, you go you pick it off, and that's never happened to me. But iron sights get dirty, they're still iron sights. If a red dot gets dirty, it's a problem. And so like you need a holster that protects that red dot. And I haven't seen those. I've seen them on the internet. I haven't personally played with one yet. Do you feel cops are on duty 24/7? I don't think you have an option. I think if you're a cop, like that's kind of like that's a philosophical thing for me, right? I tell people I'm a cop. Oh, you're a police officer? I'm a cop. Because a cop is what you are. A police officer is a job you do. If you're a cop, you're probably on duty 24/7 because it's the type of person that you are. If I wasn't a police officer, I still would have to intervene if I saw someone getting hurt. It's the type of person that I am. I'm from Germany and I want to become a police officer in the U.S. The NOPD allows non-citizens being a police officer. Do you have any tips for me? Start the citizenship process and then do whatever NOPD wants you to do to get the job. And I think you're going to have to become a permanent resident in order to get a job with an OPD, but then start the citizenship process. Because there's a lot of things that come with citizenship here in the United States that people take for granted, but I think you're gonna enjoy, and could really help you out if you get into trouble, like you get laid off or something. You want to have those public assistance benefits. If you're going to come here and pay taxes, become a citizen. Especially if you're going to serve the country. If you're going to serve the government, become a citizen. Is Article 15 a possible disqualifier for police jobs? Article 15 is a non-judicial punishment for military people. I don't know enough about them. You have to ask somebody who was in the military, and I wasn't. Why is it that some people think just because you own a retired police Crown Vic, they automatically think you bought it to impersonate an officer? Many of us just love the car. Because it looks like you're trying to impersonate a police officer. That's why. Like, you look like it. You know what I mean? It looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck. It might be something else in a duck costume, but like, if it looks like it and it quacks like it, it probably is, right? So that's the perception people have. Trust me, perception is a problem in my profession. You turn on the news, you see perception being a problem in my profession. And it's not just because of what car I drive. So you have to be aware of that perception and then manage that perception any way you can. That's why I said if you're going to drive a Crown Vic with LEDs on it for whatever purpose, for work, then you should mark it pretty clearly that it's not the police. It is whatever it is. Honestly, I would go get anything else. But that's me. SWAT is more offensive. Offensive smelling. Have you ever shot someone? I don't talk about use of force incidents. At least not use of force incidents I've been involved in. I don't think it's respectful for people to talk about that. Especially not on the internet. I wouldn't like it very much if I was involved in use of force incident or a family member was involved in use of force incident and then someone was going on the internet making jokes about it. And how would I talk about anything without making jokes? How did you meet your wife? I was working out one night and my buddy Derek, that you've actually seen on a bunch of the shooting videos, my buddy Derek, I called him to go have dinner after I was working out one night. And we went to a restaurant and she was there. And she was there with her friend. And we went over to talk to them because he knew her friend. So that's how we got introduced. And then she was really cold. She's like, it's cold in here. It's the middle of July and they got the air conditioning blowing. She said, it's cold in here. So I went and got like a hot hands out of the car. I keep like an emergency kit in my car and I always have hot hands in there. And I broke up a hot hands and gave it to her. And then she proceeded to smack it off the table and it broke open and she got black charcoal all over herself. That's how we met. It's a good story. Some live webcam chatting sexy girls. So I can't even ban that. That's just too funny. Whatever. Just passed my poly background. How good are my chances as far as getting hired? You're doing better than people who haven't passed their poly background. If they're doing the background, you're probably in the last phases because that's what takes the most time. I work as an armed bank security officer in Oakland. I carry Barnes TAC XCP in my 40. But what ammo would you recommend? It's hard. You're hard pressed to find a bad ammo, especially with 40, because you get a lot of weight and velocity to work with there. Federal HST hops to mind. A lot of the Warner Day stuff is all right. Winchester Ranger T is good. Just make sure it's a bonded, jacketed hollow point or a monolithic. I think it's good velocity. But out of a duty-sized gun, you're going to have a hard time finding something that isn't. I work with a lazy guy. John says, I work with a lazy guy. The dude sleeps and drinks on duty. Bosses are looking the other way. I'm not stressing. And also looking the other way. Oh, man. I feel your pain. I've been there before. How accurate do you think Southland is? Like I said, Southland, again, it's a compressed timeline. You can't make TV like you make police work. It's a compressed timeline, but a lot of the stuff that's on there is stuff that's actually happened. Particularly the story of they had the Korean restaurant owner and he had the pistol and it was like a stolen pistol with no serial number and the rookie let the guy keep it, and that's actually good for this video. It's a discretion issue that you have to be smart when you're using discretion because liability can come back and bite you. Make the Crown Vic red. Solution done. That's good advice. To be honest with you, that's good advice. Make it red. Put firefighter plates on it. Put a big firefighter logo on the back window. No one's going to think you're impersonating the police. When I became a cop, I was allowed to buy my own attachments for my pistol as well as my duty belt. Some places yes, some places no. Would you ever become a detective? If not, and if so, why? It's been offered to me before, and it's really just not my gig. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of sitting, and I like the road. I'm one of the few people who actually likes patrol work, and since I can make a little extra money training people, and it gives me the time to do glorious videos and sit down for like an hour and 10 minutes. My wife's going to be pissed when she go back inside. She'll be like, what were you out there for an hour and 10 minutes doing? But I like the road. I've been offered positions in other parts of the department, and it's just not for me. Not right now. Maybe when I'm older and I want to like sit more and not get out of the car and not have to fight with people, it'll be for me, but not for right now. A guy at our academy has lights on his truck and was caught lighting up a Fred in his lights on a public road. Let's just say I'm amazed he's still here. I'm amazed he's still there too. And it would look like an FD officer car. Yeah, red Crown Vic. Problem solved. Paint the thing right. Go to Mako, get the $89 red paint job. Hello from Canada. Hello. Hello. What is going on with MS-13 RCMP? Don't know. Thoughts on SJWs and sovereign citizens? Did you come across them? I've come across sovereign citizens before. They're exciting. I think I still have a warrant for my arrest from the Moorish National Temple of the Republic of Illinois or something. He answered that. Yes, probably did. Subscribe to me. I don't know what that even says. I used to work for Bureau of Land Management, telling the oral panel I worked for BLM kind of raised some eyebrows. All right, now I get it. He used to work for the Bureau of Land Management, telling the oral panel for his interview that he worked for BLM kind of raised some eyebrows. Yeah, you should probably say Bureau of Land Management these days. Best way to network with other departments and agencies? LinkedIn. Surprisingly, LinkedIn. You get a lot of jobs. I had a local community college actually approach me about being the head of security for their college. They wanted me to go to part-time with my agency, which I can't do, and then be the full-time head of security for their community college. And it was just because I had a LinkedIn profile and put what I did on there. And they were like, oh, you're perfect. I'm like, no. No, thanks. Would prefer an AR or an AK, depending on what I'm doing. Honestly, for me personally, I'd rather have an AK. Do you EDC an AK and a Taser X26? I have an X26P, and I have a Rock River AR-15. Do you ever go on vacation? I'm on vacation. I was there last week. I was in Georgia. If you follow me on Instagram, you could see me on vacation. I put most of my life on Instagram in the little bubble in the corner. You can see all the stuff that I do. I'm not that exciting, but you can follow me. What can I do to stand out in the oral board? Sound like a sane, rational person that isn't in the job to have a power trip. That's all you gotta do. I heard sirens in the background. That is very normal here. It's sirens all day here. If you are already a police officer, are you allowed to order parts for your own car like lights and have them put on? You have to run it through your department since it's not a police car. Depends on where you're at. Depends on where you're at. Here you have to have a letter from the agency qualifying your car as an emergency vehicle in order to put restricted lights on the car. So you could have like green lights or yellow lights. You could have green lights or yellow lights or clear lights on the car to a certain extent. And if you are on private property, you could temporary mount red or blue lights on your car and use them for like a security gig, and some places do that. But you can't, to use them on a public road, you have to have authorization that it's an emergency vehicle. What is the proper term for police use for cage in police cars? Is it a prisoner cage or is it a partition? Companies call it a partition, we call it a cage. Are you a trooper? No, never have worked for the state. Woo woo, that's the sound of the police. Woo woo, that's the sound of the police. Very funny, John. What is more useful, taser or pepper spray? I don't even carry pepper spray on my belt anymore, but I carry a taser. Taser is very useful. Will ADHD medication pop up on the drug test from going to the police academy? Will taking medication for ADHD be an issue in the academy? I don't think that's going to be an issue with either. Do cops get tear gas? SWAT teams generally do. That's something that gets, like, we don't put that in the trunk every car when we're going out. If it's going to be a riot situation, it comes out. But no, an Article 15 is not a disqualification. I have one AWOL less than 48 hours. Never even had a question so far. Well, there you go. Dude was in the U.S. Air Force for 6 years. He had an Article 15. Didn't bother him. If you could carry any rifle, patrol rifle, what would it be? I don't know. I kind of like the one I have now. It does the job. I'd have to build something. My brother's training to become a highway patrol. Cool. What kind of life experience would you recommend during precursor to the application process? Anything having to do with being responsible. As long as it's minor and you have no other history of mental disturbance. Yeah. My boss eats lots of donuts and yells at us. Are there any more stereotypes I can ask him to fulfill? He can go buy one of my coffee cups using the link in the description down below. I actually will put a link in the description below when I'm done with this, but he could drink a lot of coffee. That'd be a good stereotype. He read it. I read them all. FFT, are you a state trooper or a patrol cop? I'm a local police officer. I work for a city. He's a patrol cop. Thank you for answering. Would you rather have a reliable firearm or excellent communication skills? I don't see why those would be mutually exclusive. You can have both. And I do. How about maroon? Maroon could work. We're talking about squad car colors again? Squad car colors? Squad car colors. Maroon could work. Yeah, maroon would be cool. I think it's a cool color, too, for a car. And I used to have a maroon Plymouth Acclaim, and it hides rust really well, too. If you do that, they will think you are a cop that impersonates firefighters. They might. Might think it's a traffic car. I've seen maroon unmarked traffic cars before. I think LinkedIn is a really good site. It can be. If you work for any department in the U.S., what department would you choose? The one I'm at. I like it. It's my paradise, man. What are your thoughts on the X2? Haven't used one yet, but I do like the idea of being able to use the drive stun feature without having to take the cartridges off. I think that'd be cool. We just went to the X26Ps, got them for everybody in the department, so I doubt we're getting the X2s. When can we go grab a few beers and chat? You seem like a laid-back person to talk to. I would like to say that you could come to the fundraiser that I just did a video for. That's actually going to be the Thursday video. I was out here videotaping all the stuff that I got donated for the fundraiser. But I'm not going to be there, I don't think. Fortunately. Work and stuff. But there are going to be fundraisers coming up in the next few months. And if I'm going to be at one of them, I'm going to tell everyone I'm going to be at them. And if you're nearby, stop on by. Drop some money at the door for the fundraisers. I do lots of fundraisers for like the local SWAT teams in Northwest Indiana and the south side of Chicago, and for the Renegade Pig Zoo, a fundraiser every year that I try to be a part of. How can you make extra money as a cop? You work security where I'm at, or you work overtime. X26C and X26P are the same thing, but the X26P is cooler looking. They're not. They're not the same thing. The X26, the X26C, and the X26P are all different. In minor ways. The X26P is more solid state. I have noticed it is significantly more reliable with its better solid state technology. It also records a lot more things than the X26 original. The X26C does not do the recording functions, but it costs just as much. Elite Vlogs, did you meet Officer 401? No, I haven't. We live quite a ways apart. Nothing beats the speed of the 5.56. Plenty of things beat the speed of a 5.56. Plenty of things. Does a fine job, but caliber debates with rifles are even sillier than caliber debates with pistols, because with pistols, at least they're close. You talk to guys that have actually been in combat and used different rounds, and they'll tell you there are significant differences in rifle rounds. Significant differences in rifle rounds. Between what 7.62x39 will do and what 5.56 will do, what 308 will do, what 308 AP will do, and what 30-06 AP will do. Not to mention even larger calibers and specialty calibers. Lots of things beat the speed of 5.56. The perception that high-speed 5.56 is better for armor penetration. The M193 is based primarily on its effectiveness against steel plate armor, which isn't really used outside of the security guards. Some cops, I use a small steel plate, but guys are using 10x12 steel plates, and they're all worried about M193 going through. Most of your polyethylene plates, all your ceramic plates, they all stop high-speed 5.56. It's not really a thing, but some of them have a really hard time with AP and 308 or 30-06 AP especially. A lot of polyethylene, a lot of ceramic plates have a hard time with the larger, heavier calibers. There's something to be said for speed. You can carry side jobs and want security or off-duty police officers. When I applied to be a recruit, I was advised I continue schooling full-time and go into the FBI, but I'd still like to be a part-time as an officer. Do you think it's too heavy a workload? I don't think the FBI will allow you to also be a local police officer. I don't think that's how that works. I think they're required when you work under the Gold Eagle, there's no overtime, and I think that's the only job you're allowed to have. XD40 or Glock 22? Sorry, I just vomited in my mouth a little bit thinking about an XD40. Just a little bit. I don't like XDs. When I first started shooting, they were called the IS HS2000 or something, and they were garbage. And they're still made at the same place the same way. I don't like them. I just don't like them. I don't like the grip safety. The triggers on the XDMs are kind of nice, but they're a single action gun. People, if you're using an XD40 at a place that says it has to be double action, you are opening yourself up to people saying he violated policy, and so cut the ties. Unless it's specifically allowed. If your agency or company says that you're going to use a double action and you use an XD40, or they specifically say you're not allowed to use single action, those are single action pistols. And they're not particularly good ones. I see them break all the time. All the time. What's the psychological screening like? It depends on where you're at. Some of them it's a written test and they send you to talk with a psychologist. Some of it's a written test and then you go talk with the polygrapher. Thoughts on carding WRT discretion? I don't know what that means. Do you EDC a shotgun or AR? I carry an AR at work. I have carried shotguns before. I like 12 gauge shotguns, but I use an AR at work. It's more flexible for what I do. What do you think about Ruger? I like the revolvers. I love Ruger revolvers. Mini 14s I've never had really good luck with, but I've heard the new ones are better. I don't know. Police officers write reports near the end of shifts or right after incidents. I try to write them right after the incident. Sometimes you have to hold off. Some guys like to hold off till later, and sometimes you have to hold off till later because you got another call that's exigent you have to go to. Like if I have 3 domestics in a row, I may have to go to 3 domestics and then remember all that and write reports on them. What's a good alternate degree choice apart from a criminal justice degree? Accounting or foreign language? Are you in America? Yeah, most of the time. Would you ever go back to unarmed security? What if they paid you 25% more than you make now? I work unarmed security now. I was just doing, if you follow me on Instagram, I was doing the Camp Quality. Did armed security for them. While I was doing unarmed security for them, I carried a gun. Just nobody saw it. So no harm, no foul there. They don't really care. They knew I'm a cop. They know I'm probably going to bring a gun. But they said, hey, this is an unarmed gig. It's just to make sure people don't come in and try to take the kids away, and we don't have any problems overnight. Make sure nobody drowns in the pool, stuff like that. It was just night watch type of thing. And I did that for free. If I'm going to do unarmed security, it's going to be for free. If someone's going to pay me 25% more than I make now to do unarmed security, I'd do it. I'm not a proud man. If I was, I wouldn't tell people I'm 5'2" and all the camera angles would be like this. I'm tall. Not a proud man. What do you recommend if you want to be a cop? Get used to drinking a lot of caffeine. Depends on them. Some do it better after the incident, some do it, yeah. All RPK is a backup sidearm. If you like it, I'd rather have the SIG version than the Walther. Jesus loves you. Thanks. What do you think about 308 and 223? I think 308 is a better, harder hitting round if you can handle the recoil and you want to carry that much stuff around. They're very heavy. And that's the same. It's the same battle the military goes through with, full-size rifle calibers and, mid-size rifle calibers. I use a Safariland Level 3 6360 RDS meant for red dots. Kicks ass 5 months now. I've been using it. I haven't played with one yet. Sorry, hiccups. I haven't played with one yet. Until I have, I'm hesitant to say, yeah, you should do it. Would it be okay to take 2 university classes while at the police academy, or is that too much? It depends on your academy. I wouldn't do anything while I was at the academy. 6.8 SPC rifle. I don't see the point. They're very expensive. 7.62 by 54R. That's one of my favorite rounds. I have a Mosin. I love those things. I love Russian firearms. I know, just saying you are awesome. I'm going to strive to be like you in my Leo career. Please don't stop making videos, sir. I have learned a lot from you. Please stop calling me sir. And also, thank you. And don't strive to be like me. Strive to be a better you. The world doesn't need more of me. The world needs lots of different people to be in law enforcement. We wouldn't want an entire agency of me. We wouldn't want an entire agency of you. But it would be great to have me and you on the same place. What else had been watching since Live Feed started? Oh, who else? Yeah, I have been. What have you done besides law enforcement? I was a clerk at a cigarette store. I worked for United Parcel Service loading trucks. I worked for United Parcel Service unloading trucks. I worked as a truck driver doing local deliveries. In fact, my father-in-law now has my old job for a place called Johnstone Supply. They were a great company to work for. Very small company relative to some of the bigger names, but they were a very good company to work for. Delivering air conditioners and heaters. What else I did? I worked at a Boy Scout camp for a very long time. Very long time working at a Boy Scout camp. I still occasionally do little gigs for the Boy Scouts of America. Mostly unpaid. Lots of stuff. Currently reading Verbal Judo to help with my communication skills. Good advice. Verbal Judo is a great place to start. You should take the class. Is there a certain department that is easier to get into? Depends on where you're at. Is the State Police Academy in your state harder than the academy you went to? Yes. The Illinois State Police Academy is much harder. I went to the Police Training Institute at the University of Illinois. A lot of my friends went to the Chicago Police Academy, and then we swapped stories with people who went to the Illinois State Police Academy, and it is much harder. Have you ever been shot? Not on purpose. One time, and it wasn't in police work. One time, a long time ago, I was at a Boy Scout camp, and I took a piece of shrapnel. Somebody was screwing around with a shotgun, and it went off. And bullet hit me, a pellet, little tiny pellet. Like, must have hit a nail or something at the target stands we had downrange, because there were wood target stands. It must have hit a nail or something and come right back and hit me in the ass, but a long time ago. But it wasn't from work. Nobody did it on purpose. It was truly an accident. Dragon skin or Kevlar? Spectra. The suspect ever looked at you like Rambo and said, "I am your worst nightmare"? Probably. Drunk people say the funniest shit. To clarify, it would be... Oh my god, are we back? We're back on the Crown Vic thing. Alright. Back on the Crown Vic thing. To clarify, it would be black. It would have FD plates, the department shield on the back window, and no tinted windows. My town just got town cops back, and their car is maroon. Need a different color. Light blue. Like powder blue. Something like that. You know, the other thing you could do is you could take the black grill off the front, put one of the old chrome grills on. If it's not too new of a car, if it's not like a 2011, a lot of the older ones, you could get the chrome grills, put chrome hubcaps on, just make it look not like a police car, and then put firefighter stuff on it. Honestly, I would go get a pickup truck. Most firefighters love pickup trucks. If they're trucks, you get a red pickup truck, everybody loves those. What is strobe used for on a flashlight? I don't use it for anything. Honestly, it's not really useful. I don't use it for a lot of anything. Do you have a favorite go-to spot to sit and do reports, or just be alone where no one can find you? I like to back up to a brick wall so people can't sneak up on me. Or go car to car, right? So if I'm doing a report and somebody else is doing a report, we'll park car to car like we're talking. We'll do the report so that I can watch his back and he can watch my back. The strobe feature is used to disorient someone. I would love to see an actual case of that actually working anywhere. The only person that disorients is me when I'm using it. Can't see anything when the strobe's on. High school is sign language beat an officer. I can see that being very useful. I've run into a lot of people who are deaf, and then I'm sitting there like writing, and they're writing, and then I'm writing, and they're writing. Horrendous. I would love to know sign language, but I'm lucky I can tell someone to put their hands on the car in Spanish. Animals in the Got and a Dragonov. Cool. Alright, my kids are screaming, and my son's coming outside. Have you ever had one-on-one conversation with someone in your arrested in a patrol car? Sure. Alright, it sounds like I'm leaving. Where are you going?
To get his hair cut.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
She's delightful. Alright, let's see. Where was I at? How about breast cancer pink? You're safe everywhere. That would work. Local police departments has a chrome grille on their Crown Vics. Some of them do. Those are older cars, though. At least it would be a powder blue Prius. Pink Crown Vic. Strobe is for making drunks puke. That's about it. I've never tried that, but I will now. Green! Yeah. Like a forest green could work. What age did you become a cop? 23. Funniest experience as a policeman? I don't know about funniest. One time, we all went to breakfast earlier in the morning, and a guy paid me, actually a group of guys paid me $53 to drink a cup, and I mean like a cup of syrup. It may or may not have been directly after talking about Super Troopers. For the strobe function, you don't use it that often. You turn it on for like 2 seconds, that's it, because it really disorients everyone. You in trouble? Yeah, she's angry at me. I forgot we had to take the kid for a haircut. What are you going to do? What's your opinion on police radios using encryption? A lot of places are going to encrypted police radios because they're going digital. I mainly use the high function on someone and just keep it shining in their eyes. That I found more effective than anything else. If you have like a 1,000 lumen light, you just point that puppy right in their eyes anyway. Cops are hilarious. I got to give them that. I try. You ever thought about joining the military? I tried joining the military, and I had surgery on my feet when I was 5 years old, and when I was younger than 5 years old. But apparently the cutoff was somewhere near there. When I tried to join the military, like I tried to join the Marine Corps because I'm a pretty good shot. I was like, I'm a good shot, I could be a Marine. And they were like, no, you had surgery. And then I tried the Army, and they were like, no, can't take either. And I went all the way down to the Coast Guard, which I had no interest in doing, just to like, just to be in the military, and no go on all of it. That Vic is a hot topic. For some people, really get into the unmarked cars stuff. I don't get it. It's really not a big issue as people make, but I guess there's security companies around here who use black Crown Vics with yellow lights on them, right? And they get pulled over and they're like, if they're doing something weird, they'll get pulled over, and the first things the security companies learn to do is to turn the yellow lights on, right? Then you walk up to the car, you're like, you were going with the security company? They're like, yeah, I was making a U-turn because I'm going from that site to that site. We're not impersonating the police. They're yellow. They're all yellow. And you go, okay. What goes through your head when you do a traffic stop? I try to get things to not go through my head all the time. Try to keep this all intact. The first couple of them are stressful. After that, it gets easier and easier. I don't know. Well, nothing really goes through your head. You're trying to do a job, right? You start walking up to the car and start seeing the telltale signs something's not going right. Then other things go through your head, but most of the time you're just out doing a job. Oh, you're married, lol. If you stop someone for speeding and they have to go to the bathroom really bad and they can tell you they have to pee or go brown, what do? Nobody's actually tried using that one on me. I don't know. Depending if I believed them. Just don't get on their bad side. Do you prefer Smith & Wesson or Ruger for revolvers? That's one of those, that's the great thing about living in America. I can have both. I have a Ruger Red Hawk. I have a Smith 360 PD. I have a Smith Model 10. I have a Smith 686. And I love them all. And I want an SP101. Before they stop making them, because I know that's going to happen soon enough, I want a 3-inch SP101 and 357. I think that'd be cool to have. Just commented, but what makes the State Police Academy in your state harder than your department? Kind of curious. They more verbal, run you more, or what? They do a lot more PT. They run between things, and it's a longer academy. And they have a lot more, if you go to the State Police Academy, you have to do truck enforcement school right there at the State Police Academy. And I've never been in truck enforcement school. I have no interest in doing truck enforcement school. They cover a lot more material. It's a longer academy. You have to live there. You don't get to go home for 4 weeks. Please tell me you know who Jeff Dunham is, because that was one of his jokes, Powder Blue Prius. Yep. I know who Jeff Dunham is. Now that's up to the cop's discretion. I'd like to know his answer. Movie fan. You guys are going too fast. Please tell me that you know. Okay. Now this is the problem. I go back and forth and I lose my space. The Ruger simply because they don't have the safety lock, less parts, less stuff to break. I actually like the safety lock on my little gun, and my other ones don't have any locks on them at all. My 686 is older, doesn't have a safety lock on it. My little tiny gun I bring camping a lot, and I like having. I put the key to the lock on a chain around my neck, and I carry that around. It's really light, and then I can just unload it and lock it at night, and I know the kids aren't going to fuck with it. Did you self-sponsor yourself for the academy? Nope. Here you have to work for a department before you go. If I was a cop, I'd be the modern equivalent of Bobcat Goldthwait. I have no idea who that is. Traffic stops can be the most dangerous stops. You don't know who's in the car, and you don't know what they have in the car. Yeah, that and domestics. A friend of mine was almost shot. We found out later on that after... I hate telling stories from work, but after the stop was over, we found out dude had a cocked and locked pistol, ready to rock, and he had his hand on it while he was walking up to the car. It was only that he was being vigilant that he didn't end up getting shot. We found out after the fact that the guy was wanted 6 ways from Sunday. What are the telltale signs of something not going right? Without giving too much away, people reaching around the car. I hate when somebody gives advice, get your license and insurance out, have it ready to go before they walk up to the car. Don't go reaching around the car before the police come up, especially if you're not in a good neighborhood. People reaching under the seat is a real big sign, or if they're turning around looking at you. We call it furtive movements. There's lots of telltale signs that something's going to go sideways. And, the door starting to pop open. Real good telltale sign this isn't going well. There's lots of them, but that's the Cliff Notes version. How much cocaine can you legally carry? Asking for a friend. Well, I can carry a lot of it between the scene and the station. Kilos, if I want. I have a Lady Glock. It's pink. That sounds fun. You should get the teal one. The teal one's kind of cool looking. You ever had to use a spike strip or be part of a roadblock? I've never used a spike strip. We don't use them here. A nearby town in Indiana uses spike strips. And quite effectively. They also open fire on people in Indiana when they're fleeing for a felony, so that's also effective. Get the 8-shot Smith & Wesson 357. Great for shield use. No, it's not. I think that was just marketing from Smith & Wesson with the 357, the 8-shot 357 for using with a shield. I don't even know of any place that's still using like the old hold the shield, put the gun in front of it, and like use it through the viewport on the shield. Like when I was taught how to use a shield, it was you hold both hands onto the, like you put them through the strap or the bar, put both hands through and you hold onto the shield and you look through the viewport. Because if you're using a shield, it should be a team effort anyway, right? And so you're holding a shield, your job is to shield the people that are behind you that are pointing guns around the shield from the side. So you're the moving cover. And you want both hands on that shield anyway, because if you're getting hit with rounds, I mean, it's going to be a significant amount of force hitting you. I know people were really surprised when I did the original body armor video about how much back-face deformation, like what back-face deformation looks like in real life, that like it strikes and leaves dents on boards, like it's like it hit with a hammer. That's a significant amount of force coming back at you when you're holding a shield. So you don't want to be holding a shield and putting your pistol around unless you're the only one there, or you've only got one other guy with you and you want to have another gun out there. I would never use a revolver for that, and those end-frame 8-shot 357s are not that light to be holding out there and shooting, and that's a significant amount of recoil coming off a 357. Like, if you're actually going to shoot 357s out of that, it's very, very odd. I call shenanigans on that right from day one. I think that was somebody had an idea and talked to a dude at a show and said it would be really cool if you used that. That'd be awesome for a shield. There's lots of dumbasses out there coming up with ideas, and then the company said that's something we could really market, and we could do it cheap because we already have this thing that we make, and we could make it, in 357, and that would be really awesome. I would buy one of those because I think they're cool, and I would love to have it like for backpacking and stuff if I was going to go in black bear country, but not for a shield. I think that's shenanigans. And I've actually shot a gun, my Glock 35, while holding a shield. Actually, I think it was the Glock 22 at the time while holding a shield. And you have to keep the gun a little further away from the shield, like punching out like you're supposed to, and you fire, and then the slide won't hit the shield. It's silliness. Do you know any cops in the U.S. that are from Europe? I'm sure most of the white guys are from Europe, like, eventually. Right? Like, that's where white people come from. So, yes. I don't know about directly, like, they were never a citizen here. I'm not sure. Will this stay on YouTube? Sure. Has anyone ever escaped their cuffs? Yes. People escape from cuffs. Cuffs are for temporary detainment, and you're supposed to watch them while you're temporarily detaining them. If you leave them alone, they will get out of them. Can you give someone a ride while on patrol? Yeah, you can give people rides, especially to solve problems. I believe this will stay on YouTube. Yeah. Off topic a little, but I was just wondering if you finished the scout program with the Eagle Ward. If you did, congrats, a small percentage. I did. Yes, I'm an Eagle Scout. I became an Eagle Scout in, God, I can't remember the year anymore. Early 2000s, like real early 2000s. And I never got into the Eagle Palms. Never got into that. I was working at a scout camp. So some people try to get, like, they get Eagle and then they continue on to get more awards. And I always felt it was better to give back than to get more awards. So I didn't get Eagle Palms or keep getting merit badges after I became an Eagle Scout. I think I had like 24 merit badges or something. And then 21 was required for Eagle, at least when I did it. And I did the project and I became an Eagle Scout. And then you really have nothing. It's like where I'm at now, where people are like, would you work for a bigger agency or go to a feds or something? I'm like, what do I have to prove? Right? I've been a cop for 11 years in a pretty rough area. I have nothing to prove. Right? You become an Eagle Scout in scouting, what do you have left to prove? Oh, I got 200 merit badges. So, what does that do? Nothing. Dude, did you watch Under Arrest? Never heard of it. Foreign cars are less dangerous? Question mark? I have no idea. All cars are dangerous. Revolver or semi? I use a G19. Personal use, me personally, I like revolvers more. Just do. For work, semi-automatics. It's not a bad idea, man, but I didn't think the PD has the safety lock. It was supposed to be a big feature of it. It's not a bad idea, man, but I didn't think the 360 PD does have the safety lock. All of the newer Smith & Wessons, except I think a couple of the hammerless models, have the integral safeties. By the way, what kind of education did you pursue? Mine state has an education requirement, so I was kind of locked in. Well, if your state has education requirements and you're locked in, you're locked in. You have to go do whatever they say you have to do. Have you ever broke any of your Schrade Team Primos knives? I'm the guy from the Instagram that bought a couple off eBay, and I'm curious about their durability. I've never broken one. But I don't use them for work. I use that Thunderbolt one, and I use the Team Primos knives at home. This is the first one. So here you go. Mini review. I lost this screw. No idea where it went, but the clip still works. And that's what it looks like now. And I can't even tell you how many times I've sharpened this blade, but it's still very sharp. And the tip is still pretty good. So there's the edge. That's what it looks like. A couple years later, the team is starting to wear off the Primos from batoning wood with it, but it still works. Still carry it every day. I love watching Live PD and your show. Good to know. Do you have any ANPR in your car? Hold on. My phone is telling me that I have 15% left. And it's starting to crap out. Seen Flashpoint? No. Indiana is a liberal wasteland. Indiana? You know Pence comes from Indiana, right? I think Under Arrest is a Canadian-based show. They feature a lot of RCMP. Your Arrest is an anime. I love it. Never seen it. Have you ever seen Live PD? No. I don't know what Kevin Smith's problem is, but I don't even want to ban him because that's too funny. The Trinity is for... That's... Nice blade, my man. Oh boy, now we're going to fight with it. Any idea why red and blue lights instead of all blue? I don't know. Cooler looking? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Okay. I can't. Hold on. I can't. My phone's crapping out on me. Well, Kevin Smith keeps on there, and I have like 8% battery left. So, an hour and 41 minutes. That'll be fun. Well, that's it. That's it for me. Fundraiser's coming up this weekend. The 18th. J.J. Kelly's. We're raffling off a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to have another video on it on Thursday with all the stuff they sent me. Different companies sent me to raffle off. Alright. Phone's crapping out on me, so I gotta go. Guys, be safe, and I'll see you... Actually, I'm sending out a video right after this on the Safe Life Defense armor carriers, so you can get like a closer look at the armor carriers and how they work. So, see you guys later. Finish.